You're watching Tim's Take Live, and I'm your host, Tim Black. All right, I'm Tim Black. You're tuned in to Tim's Take Live. All right, so let me tell you what happened, guys. You're going to love this, right? I was up late one night working. I get a text. Not really a text, a direct message, I think it was, from a friend of mine on Twitter named Tom Seacrest. Tom says, "Hey, Tim, let me talk to you, man. Have you seen this video?" I said, "No, what video?" He sends me a link. It's to a video by the Young Turks. And you all know how much I love the Young Turks. The video the Young Turks did was about lynching. It was about this very terrible thing that that happened here in America, in our American history. And the reason why Cenk was doing it himself. The reason why he was doing it was because he wanted to, add on to the whole liberal spin about Obama, when Obama said, hey, America has some bad things in its past, terror. So that's why Cenk did it, because he's on the, he gets the memos every day about what his message should be on the Young Turks, like all the rest of the liberals. I'm not on that list. So anyway, I said, okay, but the video was good. It was interesting. It talked about things I hadn't known, such as the Equal Justice Initiative in Alabama, where they're trying to get these markers put at places where black people were lynched. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tim, why you got to talk about race? You're thinking, oh, my God, here he goes again. This fucking guy, he wants to talk about race. He wants to talk about race. And I remember that time Morgan Freeman said the way you get rid of racism is we don't talk about it. Well, you know what? Fuck Morgan Freeman. And he has since changed his mind. And I wish you really get a new talking point. I didn't just want to go to the website, the Equal Justice Initiative website. I said, damn, let me order the report. Now, the report came. It's from the Equal Justice Initiative in Montgomery, Alabama. It came to me, Tim Black. Here's the report. It came today. That's some shit. It came today. That's why I'm doing the video today. Now, look. This report is great. It's called The Lynching in America, Confronting the Legacy of Racial Terror. And see, that's the thing. People don't want to confront the racial terror in America. No, people want to believe the dumb shit they want to believe based on just what they think, not based on history or based on facts. This book chronicles over 4,000 lynchings that occurred in the United States between the years of 1860 and 1950. Fun little facts like how, how after the Emancipation Proclamation, how a lot of states didn't listen to that shit. And it's like, no, we're not letting our slaves go. They are animals. They are a beast of burden. See, white folks who hate this video I'm doing right now and hate any talks of race in America, they hate admitting that for hundreds of years, black people were treated like shit in America. No, not just like shit, because see, shit you have a fondness for. Shit serves a purpose. Well, I guess in that way, black people did as well. But man, put it this way. Black people were raped, abused, killed, mutilated, anything they wanted to do to you whenever they wanted to do it. But the fact of the matter is, slaves were treated better than free people. You know why? Because once blacks got freed, people were really pissed. Oh my God, it's one way you're going to treat your property. It's another way you're going to treat something that's not your property that wants to, have its own freedoms and shit. So this book talks about it. This book talks about all the horrors that befell black folks after Reconstruction. It talks about the Ku Klux Klan and how it came into existence, how it wasn't founded by a bunch of poor white trash rednecks, but instead by Democrats, about 6 of them, all of which went on to become doctors, lawyers, and politicians. People with money from well-to-do families started the Ku Klux Klan. At the height of the Ku Klux Klan, most white folks in the states that the Ku Klux Klan existed, most of the men were a part of it. So whole towns would have all the members of the Ku Klux Klan. Very interesting reading here. How they, after Reconstruction, how when blacks wanted to do simple things like not get hit, not have their wives raped, this was after slavery. After slavery. After slavery! I got to say that several times because people don't like hearing. After slavery, there was this period of time where they would just kill black people. See, black people weren't considered as people. They were considered as black things. Like, not really people with feelings. And they were taught, see, this is the problem. This is what white people need to understand. That white people had a sickness too. It's called white supremacy. And that sickness, they actually believed that black people were less than people. That they were incapable, ignorant savages. And if they weren't beaten by white people and controlled and put on this earth to serve white people, that they would just self-destruct. Oh yeah, this is fun reading. I wouldn't call it coffee table reading, maybe commode reading. Because after you read it, you're going to feel like taking a dump if you're not already in the dumps. Okay, so and one part that's really interesting, let me see if you can see that. There's one part that's really interesting. It's about this thing called convict leasing. See, convict leasing was a period where they said, well, you know what? Since we can't enslave black people legally anymore, what we'll do is we'll lock them up for anything. Any old little shit. We'll make up shit. Hey, man, we're white. They're not people. We'll just lock them up. And then for free, we'll make them work for companies or work for the state or work for whomever we get money from to make them work for them. So it was sort of like being a slave, but worse because you weren't really owned by the people that you worked for. So they treated you even worse than you were treated when you were a slave. This is the reality. Reality. And it also brings up to, look at it, this is nice. This is a picture of a white guy beating the shit out of a black guy. This is after slavery. Because see, everyone talks about, you always talking about slavery. This is not about slavery. This is about history up to 1950. My parents grew up in the 50s. Okay? My parents grew up in the 50s. And they lived through this shit. And this is why there's so many black people who live in the inner city. Because they were trying to get away from this shit. Lynchings. Do you realize the damage that is done when someone comes into a neighborhood and kills people? I did a video about the Jordanian prisoner who was burned alive, and I felt bad because I'm like, wow, we were treated way worse. I mean, all he did was get burned alive. I mean, I'm reading a story of a man and a woman whose fingers were cut off one by one and given to people as souvenirs. Then they took a corkscrew and dug into their bodies and popped out flesh and gave that to the people as souvenirs. All done while these black people were alive. And then they beat them mercilessly, fractured their skulls, popped eyes out of their head, all while they were alive, and then decided, okay, let's burn them. Burned them, and then they scattered their ashes, beheaded them, and then threw their heads in the black sections of towns. These things happened. Where a white man was never going to go to jail for killing a black man. 50 years ago, Civil Rights Act was passed. My mom is 65. She grew up doing that. People say, why don't black people trust cops? You need to just get, what? The cops beat the shit out of black people and killed them with no remorse and didn't do any time for hundreds of years. And then you say, oh, it's 2015. Get over it. You fucker. It's still going on. It's still going on. It's still happening. But you want to make excuses for the system because you benefit from the system because you are sheltered and you do not know the history of America. So when we sit back and we talk about other countries, we fail to mention our country. We fail to see the reality of our country. drug laws that break up families, all on the backs of black people so they can have more programs, so they can make more money, so they can employ more federal workers, so they can pass more legislation that makes more money, that employs more people in the justice system, that gets them to work more for justice, for the justice system and companies and corporations, making a lot more than fucking license plates. It's all in this book. The organization, the Equal Justice Initiative, is run by Brian Stevenson. He is the director. He's a smart guy. He's done some TED Talks. One of his talks went viral. I want to thank you guys at the Equal Justice Initiative for this report. We should talk about it. We've never had an honest discussion. People are looking around and they're blaming the victims for their own plight, without recognizing that it's been set up this way through systematic oppression. So you treated my grandparents and my grandma and my parents like less than human beings. And then when I come along, I'm supposed to not know anything about that, not have any repercussions from that. And just because you make a man free does not mean, or you make a man give up his slave, or you make a man not lynch someone, does not mean you change their mentality. Laws don't change thoughts. Thousands will come along and eat fucking chicken, drink lemonade, watch people be killed, mutilated. Slowly. They burnt people under slow fires and sang songs. Not 300 years ago, not in some faraway country. Here.